people don't have enough qualified leads to talk to on a daily or weekly or monthly basis to generate the outcomes that they desire. So my brother, who's the co-owner and partner in BDR.AI, he spent 20 years in the world of direct sale or marketing. And he scaled that from 0 to 40 million in revenue. BDR.AI takes AI, automation, sequencing, and technology and augments the capacity of what one individual can do.
All right. Welcome back, listener. I'm glad you're here. Today, I've got a great episode. It's with David Bush. David, good to see you.
Good to see you, Daniel. Good to
So,
reconnect.
David, you own and operate. You're the president of BDR.AI. Am I getting that correct?
You got it. Yep.
Excellent.
Co-owner, chief bottle washer, and everything in between.
Yes. Excellent. So, listener, BDR.AI, I got connected to David about 2 months ago. And since then, we've had some really great conversations. I was blessed to be on his podcast. And now, obviously, you're here with David, and he's going to tell his story. And we're going to have a great conversation around marketing, but more importantly, sales and how BDR.AI can fit into the full picture when you're wanting to scale sales. So, David, I'd love for you to give a quick backstory. How did we get here? How did you get to BDR.AI?
Yeah, well, first I have to start by saying I told my mom that I was meeting with Daniel Pope, and she said, "You're meeting with the Pope?" That was a whole different story with an 80-year-old mother. But I'm sure you've heard that too many times. But yeah, as far as how I got to where I am today, it was opportunity mixed with difficulties. I started off chasing a professional football career and landed in arena football. Ended up my 10 seconds of fame was I was the guy that hiked the ball to the now Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, who had the Cinderella story of the St. Louis Rams, who won the Super Bowl in 1999, and so on. But that was kind of like my quick pursuit of a dream, and really, I was a believer in myself. I was kind of a salesperson. I was selling myself to professional football teams who weren't necessarily interested, or they weren't wanting me as a player, but I was interested, and I wanted to be a professional football player. So I learned a lot about selling myself and sales in general just by going out there and pursuing a childhood dream that, landed me in a position that I look back and I go, man, that had such a great impact and influence on my life, even though it wasn't the ultimate childhood dream of playing in the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. It taught me a lot about believing in your dreams and chasing something that's extraordinary. And so after I played for 4 years, I suffered a career-ending lack of talent, and I moved into the world of professional sales, and I got into the mortgage industry and succeeded in mortgage, and then ended up becoming a mortgage broker, ended up having 17 offices in 3 different states, and had a good run for 7 years. And then I decided to pursue another childhood dream, which was to become a people farmer. I wanted to help people grow. So I entered into the world of professional business coaching, and I started working with a lot of entrepreneurs and executives and high commission salespeople in the mortgage industry. And that just kind of evolved into working with others in different industries: real estate, financial services, insurance, small business owners. And I did that for 20 years. And my brother, who's the co-owner and partner in BDR.AI, he spent 20 years in the world of direct sale or direct marketing. So he owned a direct mail company. And he scaled that from 0 to 40 million in revenue and had a great success story in a totally different industry and a totally different market. But we both turned 50 recently, and we kind of said, hey, what do we want to do in the second half of our life? And we agreed that we wanted to do something together to be both successful and significant. And we felt like that we could bring a lot of our experience and expertise and education to other small business owners, top sales executives, coaches, consultants, marketing agencies, and we could tell them some of the things that we'd learned along the way, and we could show them how to scale their businesses. And that led us to the acquisition of BDR.AI. So we acquired the company that had a 7-year history and had great success in the market, but they wanted to move on, and we wanted to move up. And so we decided to acquire BDR.AI and have had a great run since we acquired it. And we're really designed around helping people to grow their business development through resources. So BDR.AI stands for Business Development Representative or Business Development Resources. So we're kind of a resource center for organizations that want to scale their lead generation with automation, AI, and technology, and who want to have a proven player that can help them to do it. So that's our backstory. And
Yeah.
Uh, I wouldn't necessarily repeat it the way that exactly it all took place because there was a lot of challenges and difficulties that I had to overcome, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, I'm curious when I talk to former athletes, especially that have played professionally, um, there's similarities, and it's always that drive to succeed or drive to do better. And it sounds so simple at face value, but I'm curious, David, is there anything that you took from playing football and you use in your day to day operations of the company? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think that uh, your weaknesses will be exposed, so you better develop your strengths. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I mean, there's going to be things that you're going to be not as great at, and so rather than trying to shore up your weaknesses, which would be a valiant effort, right? I found to really dominate on your strengths and to understand your unique value in an organization or in a marketplace. So, I wasn't the biggest, fastest, strongest, most intelligent player, but I had strengths that were unique to me. I was extraordinarily diligent and committed, and I was willing to go above and beyond what was usual, regular, and customary, which is the definition of the word extraordinary. So I wasn't an exceptional athlete to a very marked extent, which is the first definition of extraordinary. I was the second definition. I went above and beyond what was usual, regular, and customary, which made me extraordinary. And I took the talents and skills and strengths and abilities and gifts that I had and I applied them to an extraordinary level. So I got opportunities that more talented, more experienced, more skilled players didn't get, that just didn't have the right attitude or the right effort or the right consistency. So that's
Mm,
probably the one thing. And then just the other thing is just faith over fear. I'm a big believer in faith versus fear. There's a lot of fear as an entrepreneur. There's a lot of fear in the marketplace, and you can get scared or you can get excited, and you can get faithful in your dreams, not just from a spiritual context, but more from a what are you choosing to believe in? The word believe has the word lie right in the very middle of it.
mm,
And so many people accept the lies of the industry or the lies of their competitors or their friends and family members. And so learning to really believe in truth and understanding that the truth will set you free. And, that truth is something that you have to come to the conclusion on yourself. And I had that was a big truth. That was a big faith journey for me going through chasing professional sports because I had to choose what I was going to believe in. Was I going to believe in all the people that didn't think I could do it? Or was I going to believe in the things that I had felt like I was called to be, do, and have? And I really wanted those things from a dream standpoint. And
mhm,
so, on a daily basis, I had to shut off the negative and focus on the positive and really have faith over fear.
mm. Yeah, we need to hear that now more than ever, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I've become more bold in sharing it. Before I just thought it was more of a personal journey. I didn't necessarily think that it was my role and responsibility to inspire and encourage other people to, have faith in their dreams and have faith in the things that they've been called to be, do, and have. But now it's fun to be able to talk about that in a non-spiritual context, just in the context of what are you choosing to believe in? And do you really have belief and faith in what it is that you've been called to do and what this business that you've been given is able to create and helping other people? And is that your mindset, or is your mindset, what does the marketplace think of what I'm doing, and what does the friends and family members think, and will this work, and and all the negativity that comes through, like we talked about before the show went live, is that there's so many things out there that work. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of, are you willing to work them and validate them to get to the point where they actually work for you?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm working on that with another client right now. They have a tendency to jump ship before the thing has the old college try. And so, for example, we're testing out a specific webinar topic, and we want to validate it. We want to have enough data in to get a big enough sample size so that we can say without a shadow of a doubt, yeah, this works, and it converts at X% and it gets this return on ad spend. But instead, the first bad day that they have, they say pull the plug. And so that's difficult. And we can talk more about that later, but I want to go back to what you were talking about with play to your strengths. And yes, there will always be weaknesses, but if we can really play to our strengths and figure out exactly how we can dominate the playing field, then we'll be in a good spot. I'm assuming that you did proper due diligence with BDR.AI, and in that due diligence, you saw, okay, this company has certain strengths that the other competitors in the field they're not playing to, or they can't even match us. And I'm speaking about it in a very simple manner right now because most of us don't do acquisitions. And so coming into something that already has, like, hey, it's like adopting a 12-year-old. Whoa, it's already got its own set of characteristics. But do you want to share a little bit about the due diligence process first? And then I would love to talk more about what exactly BDR.AI does and who they serve.
Yeah. Well, just going back to your story, I want to address that for just a second because I
Oh,
think that
yeah,
that's an
of
important
course.
factor about the, uprooting things before the growing season has its
Yeah.
opportunity. And I do think that there's a lot of people that, pull up and uproot something that's just been planted before they've actually verified that the process really doesn't work. And I love the phrase is that, you can count the apples in a seed, but you can't count the app, or you can count the seeds in the apple, but not the apples in the seeds. And
Yeah.
so many people spend too much time kind of analyzing the seeds in the apple rather than dreaming and thinking more about the apples and the seeds.
Yeah.
And there is a growing process, right? Just verifying that you have the right plot of land. If you don't have good soil, you're not going to have a good apple orchard. So verifying you have the right soil, verifying that the soil has been properly worked, verifying that you have enough seeds planted and the right kinds of seeds inside of the soil, and that the seeds have been nurtured with water and fertilizer and care and protection, and then allowing that growing season to take place. Because again, you and I are in a similar category of business development. A lot of times people are, pulling up before the fruit is even ripened, and they're so focused on the fruit, they're not focused on the roots, right? So roots
Yeah.
over fruit, if I could say it in that way.
Yeah.
Maybe a country bumpkin version. But I come from Iowa. I live in Iowa now, and we're in a big corn and soybean area. And the farmers would tell you that you don't give up in the spring. You don't even give up in the summer, because the harvest comes usually on a regular basis, unless some sort of tragedy takes place. Once you've used proven principles, you're going to get that harvest. It's just a matter of how big of a harvest and what are the things you're going to do to optimize that harvest. So
Mm.
anybody that's maybe at a point right now where they're thinking and they're doubting their business development plan, just go back and validate the truth. Do you have good soil? Do you have good seed? Do you have good nurturing to water and fertilize that seed? And are you trusting a process that's a proven process, or are you guessing? And if you're guessing, yeah, you could be more concerned about that. So go find truth to validate whether or not you have a process that works.
Yeah.
And again, good education and good support from people like you are definitely going to be a great way to confirm that you're on the right track.
Hmm.
So going back to the whole validation of BDR.AI, they had 7-year history, and they had some very large clients. I mean, one of the clients just sold to Salesforce for $8 billion.
Hmm.
So we had validation that the proof of concept worked and that clients were working it. Where we felt like that we could come in and scale the company at a higher level is bringing in some unique services that are more built around expertise, experience, and education, and providing more of a concierge type of experience, and kind of differentiating ourselves from the red oceans of digital outreach, which there's lots of competitors, a lot of international competitors that are offering very cheap services. And that's exactly what people get when they sign up for those services is cheap services. And they oftentimes don't get results. And so what we're trying to differentiate ourselves from all those competitors is that, my brother and I, we have a combined history of almost 50 years in sales and marketing, copywriting, sales, marketing, and follow up. And we help business owners to develop a system that works because the system works, not because they work all the time. And if they work the system, we know that it works. If they don't work the system, they're better off going out there and signing up for a cheap service so that they don't spend more money to have failure. But if they follow the pathway and the business
Hmm.
playbook that we give them around digital outreach, they'll have very predictable success. And that was our opportunity to say, and again, we could have gone out there and started from scratch and started everything on our own, but we both read a book that was called Buy Then Build.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the idea of actually buying, virtual assets and being able to scale that and not having to redevelop them was extremely valuable to us. And we felt like we could compound on a 7-year history and scale the business 2 to 10x in the next 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
just with our experiences.
Hey there, Daniel Pope here again. I want to take a couple seconds to talk about my company, Be Known. Now, Be Known exists to be a done-for-you service provider for online-based businesses, coaches, and those that sell online courses and information products. We help them grow from 6 figures to 7 figures and then into 8 figures. We do this because there's so much misinformation out there. So many people just selling a course or just a coaching program over how to grow. Well, we're different in the fact that we actually do it with our clients. We take care of the advertising. We take care of the email marketing, the tech, all the tech. Yes, all the tech, the landing pages, the funnels, the growth strategies and tactics. So I think of ourselves as a expert implementation team plus a fractional CMO per se that guides you every step of the way. So if you've listened to this podcast or an episode and said, okay, that's great, but I don't really know how to do that, or I just need help. Well, that's why we exist. So I want to invite you to a call with me, a consultation where we can talk through your business, talk through what's going on, what challenges you have, what constraints, what bottlenecks, and figure out a path forward. If we're a mutual fit to work together, great. If not, no problem. We'll send you on your way with resources and stuff that can help you get up to speed quick. So again, I invite you to talk more with me, and that is beknownonline.com. beknownonline.com/start is where you'll go. And I cannot wait to talk to you. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast, I'd love it if you can share with some friends. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to your success. Take care.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. That's a great deal to find, first of all. Second, I'd love for you to share exactly what BDR.AI does for the listener out there. Probably haven't come across this company before. And after that, we'll tie it back into how it can help them. And really, the target market that I'm talking with is, of course, people that are selling coaching and information expertise focused offers. And yeah, I'd love to hear how, exactly what it does.
Yeah. Well, the major problem that we hear on a day in, day out basis is people don't have enough qualified leads to talk to on a daily or weekly or monthly basis to generate the outcomes that they desire. And many times it's, business owners, it's sales executives that are just, maxed out in their perspective. They're maxed out on what they can accomplish. So BDR.AI takes AI, automation, sequencing, and technology and augments the capacity of what one individual can do. So most of our clients, they need help with finding their target market. Some of them are unclear of who their target market is, or some people have lots of target market prospects, but they don't have a good strategy to engage and follow up with those individuals, to awaken them to what they do, to connect with those people, and to engage in conversation that would actually dictate a qualified lead that they could actually meet up with and present to. So first thing that we do is we help people to find their target market. The second thing we do is we help them to evaluate how they show up in their online presence. So do they have a qualified presence that would attract people to want to meet with you? And we're not experts in digital marketing. There's a whole bunch of others that do that better than us. But I can look at your LinkedIn profile and tell you whether or not you're attractive to the marketplace. And I don't need to know what you do. I can just look at your profile. There's simple things that we do to help individuals to optimize their LinkedIn presence, which is the number one platform for business to business lead generation. So it's our number one focus is how do you show up on LinkedIn and how do you attract more people that are in your target market to want to have a conversation with you with simple strategies and sourcing lists from LinkedIn, and then being able to have a profile that attracts people to want to talk to you. And then we build out automated sequences to do digital reach out using AI and basic automation technology that does omni-channel communication. So email, messages, LinkedIn interactions, doing all the things that you probably would do if you were going to scale your business to business sales, you would probably do all of those things. You would email them, you would LinkedIn message them, you would interact with them on LinkedIn. You'd probably end up calling them. You'd probably end up doing multiple touch points, and you would be attracting them by using a give, ask strategy. So you're giving them value, you're giving them resources, and then you're asking them for something of opportunity, whether that's an appointment or to fill out a form or go to a webinar or something of that nature. So we just help people to build out that sequence, and we show them different ways that they can target their warm contacts as well as cold contacts. So a question I like to ask every person I'm talking to, and this is going to be a big aha moment for everybody that's listening or watching this particular session, is how many LinkedIn connections do you have? Just if you don't know the answer, go to LinkedIn, go to My Network, and see how many connections you actually have. Most people that we talk to have anywhere between 2,000 to 15,000 connections on average. You can have up to 30,000, but most people that are talking to us are somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 8,000 people on average, as much as 15. And the question is, how many of those people are contacts that you would say are people that would qualify as prospects for the services that you offer, or they're people that you could actually get referrals from? And most people would say 20%. So if you just take 20% of 4,000 connections, that's 800 connections that are prospects that are in your LinkedIn. You have access to a lot of contact information, a lot of background information. And so the question then is, when was the last time that you communicated with those 800 people? And that's when it gets really quiet, because most people have they have acres of diamonds, as Russell Cromwell wrote in his book many, many years ago. They have acres of diamonds in their own backyard, and they're stepping over those diamonds to go chase dollars, dimes, and pennies with cold prospects that they don't know, like, or trust, or people that don't know, like, or trust them. And so just taking advantage of organizing, prioritizing, and following up with the relationships you already have in your first degree connections is just one of the services that we provide. And then if you have events or if you have cold outreach that you want to do, how can we end up organizing that follow-up so that it's not a one and done, it's not a spray and pray or a sell and tell message. You actually have a nurturing sequence where you're moving prospects through a predictable system to attract them to want to have a conversation with you. And you're doing it with technology so that you're spending more of your time focused on the follow-up and the follow-through, building those high trust relationships with qualified leads and clients and referrals and things of that nature. So that's a big picture of what we do. We also have a digital dialer that accelerates outbound if people want to do digital dialing, but not everybody's interested in digital dialing, but that is an additional service that we can augment the prospecting and the digital outreach.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing that. I'm curious. So where does the AI fit into this? Is the AI crafting messages? Is it learning who to target? Or
Yeah, so we offer some different AI services depending upon what the individual is capable of interacting with. So some individuals are more comfortable with using AI on their own. So we offer AI tools that help them to create a digital playbook, just a done for you option where they can just go to our website and they can access our free digital outreach playbook creator. We also have AI tools that show them how to go out there and find their prospects using LinkedIn Boolean searches or using premium data. So we would say that we would be an augmentation to their AI usage. And that's just more of a low level. Here's resources that you can use. We also have gotten really good at using AI. And so working with our clients, we can use custom designed chats, AI chatbots, to be able to craft things and to research for them so that they don't have to know the right prompting. And that's a big journey for a lot of people, is that they know AI will help them, but it's only as good as what they put in for prompts. And many people don't know what to put in. So then they get out things that are confusing or inaccurate, where, because we're doing it every day, we can assist them with those AI chat prompts and then get really good feedback. And that could be things that can help them to augment their LinkedIn profile, help them to brainstorm on posting ideas that they can use, headlines, using best practices, crafting really high, powerful content for their LinkedIn, as well as their own message design. So creating an outreach sequence that's a 6 to 20 point touch point, where over the next 90 days, you're touching people 6 to 25 times. depending on what your preference is. And that's not messages and calls. It's, how many posts you like and how many comments you make on their post and how much you endorse their skills. But just laying out that playbook so that it's done for you and you can take a look at it, and then you can just make edits. We actually have a AI playbook creator right built into our system. So you tell them who your target market is and what you're trying to accomplish and what the pain points are of the individual target market, and it'll write the entire sequence and put it all for you, or put it all together for you. And then we also have AI chat built into our responses. So when somebody responds to your messaging, all you have to do is either type a short prompt or select pre-existing prompts, and it will actually write the response based
Okay.
upon
Yeah.
what they said to you, or based upon what you said to them, or based upon what you said and what they said and their profile. So
Mhm.
again, just augmenting the sales relationship so that doesn't take a tremendous amount of time. We also have additional advanced tools that allow you to like posts, comment on posts, or give you suggestions on how to comment on a particular post.
Yeah.
So, if I want to go out there and engage my, top 10 or 20 prospects today, and I want to go out there and comment on their post, the amount of time it takes for me to find the post,
Yeah.
read the post, think of something clever to say, or copy and paste it into Chat GPT so that I can get something clever to write back. You may say that could be 5 minutes each for each person, where our system just automatically shows you, here's your prospect's most recent post. Here's what they posted. Here's what we suggest based upon what you've said you'd like to share, whether it's positive or whether it's sharing ideas. And so it's actually crafting those responses just to help you. So
Huh.
that and a whole lot
Yeah.
more, Daniel, is what we're doing.
Nice. Yeah, this is intriguing. I want in, first of all. But especially when you said omni-channel, multiple platforms, it's not just LinkedIn. And, for me, in what I do with clients in terms of multi-channel advertising and promotion, that's so important because we have to stay top of mind, like you know very well, David. Staying top of mind in this crazy, noisy, attention grabbing world. Oh, that's the name of the game right now.
Yeah, and I think
So,
that a lot of people have lost touch with reality.
mm,
They believe in a lie. They believe that if they follow up with somebody 6 to 12 times, that they're being a pest or they're being, a bother. But if you are adding value and you're not
yeah,
just sending your calendar link and say, "Do you want to book a meeting now? Do you want to book a meeting now? How about now?" If you're sharing resources, if it's like, "Hey, Daniel, I found this resource to be extremely valuable when I'm helping agencies to generate more opportunities for themselves and for their clients. I thought that you might find value in it. Would you like
yeah,
me to share it?" Right now, you're asking a question. And if a person says yes to that question, I could follow up. If the person says nothing and doesn't answer the question, 3 to 4 or 5 or 7 days later, I can choose when I want to send a follow up message. But I could send a follow up message and say, just circling back to make sure you saw my message. Here's the resource that I had mentioned up above. Let me know if it's helpful to you. I'd
mm,
love to add value
yeah,
to you in any way I can. And again, just adding value, give, then ask. Give, then ask. And if you are doing that, you're building trust, you're building credibility, you're creating authority in your topic. And you're always going to have people that don't necessarily want what you have, but I'm not looking for those people. I'm okay with people saying I'm not interested or no thanks or, no. I'm more interested in those people that are curious and open and, growth minded and maybe even interested in what I do. And
yeah,
I'm following up and following through with those people. So I encourage clients to make sure that you use the rope principle. And the rope principle is, first and foremost, reply to the people that reply to you and engage you, right? If you're not doing that, you're failing miserably. And then the next is organize your prospects, and be able to understand where people are at so that you can work in order of priority. So prioritize is the third thing. And then the last thing is engage them and add value and ask them questions that will move them to the next step. If you use that rope principle, you'll rope in a ton more opportunities than if you're just out there, working based upon how you feel that day or what you think that
yeah.
day.
Oh, excellent. My mind immediately jumps to, so all of that sounds great, but this would not work if you have not validated your offer. I mean, obviously, this isn't going to work if you're a brand new startup, but I'm curious, what are some of the businesses that this would not work for? And then we'll talk about who this is the best for.
Well, it's hard to say who it wouldn't work for.
Mm.
I would say that the simplest way to answer that is who would it work for? And so, for us, if your prospects are on LinkedIn, and I don't mean that they just have a profile on LinkedIn, right? If they never visit LinkedIn, um, that's going to be a challenge to utilize LinkedIn outreach as a strategy. But most people that are working with prospects that are on LinkedIn, they already know that their prospects are on LinkedIn and they're engaging. And they don't have to be on it all the time. LinkedIn is probably a one every 3 days for most people that have a LinkedIn account. They're not using it as their preferred method of communication. Some
Yeah.
people are. But if your target market is on LinkedIn, and you're already thinking about, if I just followed up and followed through with my LinkedIn prospects, I would have, or LinkedIn connections, I would have a lot more business opportunities. So
Mm.
that would be kind of like filter number one. Are your prospects on LinkedIn? Number two is that, are you a business to business seller, or business to business company, if you don't consider yourself a salesperson? So for people that are more consumer direct, yes, LinkedIn can still be a strategy for you, because if your prospects are on LinkedIn, you could still communicate there. But we're not a great fit for consumer direct marketing. We're more driven towards business to business. And then the third thing is that, are you open and curious on how you can use cold outreach as a strategy? There's lots of different tools. I mean, you could use our tools and just focus 100% on warm outreach to get everything you can from everything you've already got in terms of LinkedIn connections. And you could stay very warm. And I would even consider that second degree connections. If I'm trying to connect to somebody that's connected to Daniel, and I like Daniel and I trust him and I respect him, and I know that people trust and respect Daniel, I can go into LinkedIn right now and I can look up all of the people that Daniel's connected to that's in his first degree connections, my second degree, because I'm not connected to him, but they're Daniel's first degree connections. And I could go out there and I could send connection requests and messages and emails and make follow-up phone calls.
Mm.
And I could leverage my connection and relationship with Daniel in a very positive and respectful way. But I can say, hey, I saw that we're both connected to Daniel Pope, and I really like Daniel, so I thought I'd reach out to you. And then when they message back and say, yeah, I like Daniel too, I've got
Who is this
something.
guy?
Who is this? Who
Who's
is this?
Daniel?
Yeah, I like the Pope. So I'm gonna have a conversation with people that are connected to people that I'm connected to, but I'm not connected to them yet. So just if you're doing warm outreach, you could build an extraordinary business using our platform. But you can also use the platform to do more cold outreach, and you could warm people up using automation and technology and AI, and never have to do the repetitive, boring, monotonous work of, sending connection requests to strangers and just having to go through that process of, messaging and all that.
Yeah. Oh, well, when you said something a second ago, it reminded me of the book title, Getting Everything You Can Out of All That You've Got, Jay Abraham. And I'm curious if you've ever seen use cases of people using this to go after strategic referral partners. So, not the customer, end client, but hey there, I sell complementary things to you. Would you want to have a conversation about a joint offer, essentially? Have you ever seen that before?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm guilty as charged, because that's a big strategy of mine. I would say that there's probably just a very low population of
Yeah.
people that actually, do referral based marketing or strategic based marketing. And Jay Abraham's a friend of ours. So that's where I read the book. And my brother Jeff has actually been a student of Jay's in marketing for a long, long time. And
Yeah.
so Jay really loves what we're doing. And yeah, the whole concept of host beneficiary relationship, where you go out there and you find somebody that already has trust, credibility, and authority with your target market, and you go to them and say, hey, I'd like to build a relationship with you. And the way that we challenge them to do it is to go after people in such a way where you're not looking to get their clients, but you're going out there to approach them to say, hey, I think that I could bring you some opportunities and we could reciprocate. So go out there in such a way where you're showing up as adding value to them rather than asking them for value and asking them for referrals. But absolutely, like, if you could go out there and think about, being the strategic quarterback of opportunities. What are the 20 different industries that your clients are going to need services or products from? And could you go out there and go develop a campaign for 3 of those different industries, whether it's, accountants or financial planners or coaches or whatever? And could you begin to develop a strategic relationship and say, Be Known Online is looking to create a strategy where we can provide strategic team of advisor lists to every one of our clients. So anytime they need services and products for these things, we give them a list, whether it's virtual or an actual PDF. We give them a list that lists all of our strategic partners. And I just thought it might be a good opportunity for us to connect. That is a huge, huge, major critical success indicator of more referrals in the new year. So yeah, you could use it for that plus a
Yeah.
whole bunch of other things. It's
Oh
it's not
man.
it's not the shortage of opportunity, it's the shortage of focus and effort.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of effort. It's just, focus precedes success. And so if you go out there and you come up with, 1,000 different ideas of how you're going to generate business in the next 12 weeks, you're not going to do any of them because you're going to be, in creative avoidance. You're going to be constantly creating something different. So focusing in and saying, okay, what is our client acquisition strategy? What is our client retention strategy? And what is our client expansion strategy? As long as we have strategies that are generating enough incoming opportunities to help us to achieve our goals, we don't need 10,000 different ways to do it. We just need to know that we've got something to develop our warm market, something in the area of free content, which, Daniel's fantastic at, something in the area of cold outreach, which we could be a great resource. And then if you do paid ads, Daniel's obviously an expert in that as well. So those 4 things can comprise a really, robust marketing strategy.
It's as simple as that, listener. No, in all seriousness, it is. It should be as lean as that, especially if you don't have something that you're extremely happy with right now in terms of business development, business growth, lead generation. It should be as lean as that. And you need to, well, I say this phrase a lot, David, to clients. Marketing is like lightning. Lightning does not sit there and plan for 6 weeks. The best proper campaign, it doesn't find the perfect linear path. Lightning finds the path of least resistance and strikes heavy. It finds what works and it goes hard on it. And so when you're marketing, find something that works. Yes, you can take 6 weeks to plan if you want, but find something that works and run it till the wheels fall off. Strike hard on it. And once you've perfected that, once you're able to validate it, once you're able to optimize the heck out of it, and once you're able to put someone else in place to manage it and they do it successfully, then you can move on to something else. That's my perspective on it after seeing a lot of failures and successes over the years. But yeah, David,
We
you're
talked about
right.
this earlier. The way to scale a business is to start by validating that you have something that works, right? Spending more personal time ensuring that it's done right and that you've tested different options so that you've got the best possible strategy. And then automate that so that it happens like clockwork. So automation could be, hey, you do a webinar every single month, or you do digital outreach on a regular basis to these individuals, and you review it every month and you validate, is it working and did I need to make a change? And then you delegate it to somebody else to say, hey, you manage this process so that you can go out there and elevate and spend more time on the highest leverage activities, and you can stop majoring in the minors. And when you start, I mean, again, there is no limit to the number of strategies that you can offer. And if you have more team members or more independent contractors that you can delegate to, you could have, 10 or 15 different strategies that are crushing top of funnel, that are driving a tremendous amount of lead flow into your sales system. And then you can end up bringing on more sales professionals to handle it. And all of that is where people scale businesses to the point where you have a really thriving lifestyle business, or whether you have an enterprise that is developing a huge, asset value that's going to pay you a lot of money when you sell it, or you just live off of the cash that comes from it.
Wise words. Yeah, you shared that acronym earlier with me, and
Well, I stole it from a wise man that gave it to me the other day, and I appreciate you for sharing that with me. And I just kind of put my own little tweak on it. So the VADE principle is something that we're sharing on a regular basis now.
I like that. VADE, validate, automate, delegate, and elevate yourself from majoring in the minors. What I
Yeah, we were just
call,
talking about that book, Scaling, or the Science of
yeah,
Scaling.
yeah,
Simplifying cutting out the things, doing less of the things that aren't producing results. And I think that we could both say, we have probably done a lot of things that relate to Elon Musk's quote about we're optimizing things that shouldn't even exist, right? Engineers spend a lot of time optimizing things that shouldn't even be there because they don't produce a real value. We like to be productive, so we spend time on them. But if you just go back and look at your, from today to the beginning of the year or the last 12 months, if you're listening to this previously or later on, and just ask the question, where did the majority of my business come from? And if you don't know where your business is coming from, how in the world can you know where to spend your dollars in the future?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have any idea of what's the highest return on investment marketing dollars. And if you're going out there and you're doing a ton of cold outreach and you're not spending time with warm outreach and following up and following through with the people that are referring you business and that are doing business with you, you're probably spending more money. It's still not a bad strategy, but you're probably spending more money than you should on marketing because
Yes.
you are missing an opportunity.
Absolutely. And David, I want to inform the listener, this is actually something that we've done with a lot of different clients. When they don't know truly where their leads are coming from, then the first thing we do is we have them implement a form on their contact box or calendar link. And it says, how did you first hear about us? And in that form, it's not a drop down. We want them to type in the answer. I like to make it required so that we get the data. But instead of creating biases in their minds of Facebook, Google, I love to see what they put in. Second, from that is you go back and talk to your clients. Talk to people who have bought from you and say, hey, I'm improving my business. I'd love to ask you a couple questions. Do you remember when you first found us? Where was that? Do you remember if it was Google or YouTube or nowadays ChatGPT? I've gotten leads from that, funny enough. And then go to your leads who have not converted and say, hey, I just want to ask, where did you first hear about us? Again, the intentionality there is what most business owners miss. For some reason, they're like, I can't ask operations focused questions. I can't ask technical questions. I don't know why, but go back and do that. And you'll realize, oh, wait, actually, most people are coming in from Google search and Facebook isn't even having a big part in it. Okay, great. Well, maybe we should cut out Facebook for the time being and save $6,000 a month. Anyway, David, I don't mean to be on a tangent. This is something that I spent a few years studying this epidemic of, well, we're spending a bunch on ads, but we don't know where they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, I think we've all been guilty of things that maybe haven't been the most productive or the most profitable, and so it's just being open and honest about, what is it that I don't know that I don't know, right? And being open and curious to what is true and what is a story that I have made up in my own mind about what is true. I love the quote from Mark Twain. He gets credit for it. I don't know if it's his or not, but he says, it's not what we know that gets us into trouble. It's all the things that we know for absolute certain that just aren't so. And so that would be my kind of closing remarks here today is that, what is something that you have held on to as truth, but you've never validated it as truth? You've just believed it because it was something that was told to you, or it was something that you had an experience and you attended something, or you had a mentor tell you something, and you've never really validated it to be true. An example of that is that cold outreach doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
My brother built a business that generated $40 million in revenue, and people happily sent him wires of $1 million to generate a 0.5% response on sending out, millions of pieces of direct mail. And people would tell him direct mail is dead. Direct mail doesn't work. But that's a truth that they chose to accept based on a previous experience or a testimonial of some other people. It wasn't actually the truth. And so, yeah, if there's things out there that are holding you back, maybe limiting beliefs, doubts, concerns, or just something that's just a false narrative, it's a story that you created in your own mind, that in itself, beyond anything else, will hold you back from developing more opportunities with your business and generating more sales.
How powerful is that? Man, David, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the words of wisdom today. I've gotten a lot of takeaways myself. This has been a very interesting, difficult, exciting, growth-oriented year for us. And there are times when I do these episodes selfishly to get words of wisdom, to get empowerment and some mental steroids half the
Yeah,
time.
well, as Jim Rohn used to say before he goes on the stage and give his presentations around motivation and personal development, he said, I was glad that I showed up so that I could hear what I had to say. Because, listen to me carefully, but don't watch me too close. I'm still a student on this stuff too. I'm still learning how to apply it into my own life and continuing to refine. So we're all a work in progress. So
Mm,
if you're a work in progress and you want to progress and you want to get better, let's connect and let's keep the journey going together.
excellent. Well, David, where can they find BDR.AI?
Very, very simple. BDR.AI. So we were doing AI before it was cool on the internet. So real simple. B as in business, D as in development, R as in representative or resources. .ai, and you'll find all the resources. Connect with us. We'll get you free leads. We'll get you opportunity to create your digital playbook for free. We're a big believer in giving away value. And if we're a good fit for you and you want to use us for services, great. If not, share it with a friend and help them to connect with us, because we'd love to serve more people and improve our success and significance.
Wonderful. Well, listener, go ahead and check out BDR.AI. I know that I will, and David and I, we're going to have some fruitful conversations after this. Thank you for listening. And David, man, I really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing today.
My pleasure. Thanks, Daniel.
Hey there, Daniel Pope here again. I want to take a couple seconds to talk about my company, Be Known. Now, Be Known exists to be a done-for-you service provider for online-based businesses, coaches, and those that sell online courses and information products. We help them grow from 6 figures to 7 figures and then into 8 figures. We do this because there's so much misinformation out there. So many people just selling a course or just a coaching program over how to grow. Well, we're different in the fact that we actually do it with our clients. We take care of the advertising. We take care of the email marketing, the tech, all the tech. Yes, all the tech, the landing pages, the funnels, the growth strategies and tactics. So I think of ourselves as a expert implementation team plus a fractional CMO per se that guides you every step of the way. So if you've listened to this podcast or an episode and said, okay, that's great, but I don't really know how to do that, or I just need help. Well, that's why we exist. So I want to invite you to a call with me, a consultation where we can talk through your business, talk through what's going on, what challenges you have, what constraints, what bottlenecks, and figure out a path forward. If we're a mutual fit to work together, great. If not, no problem. We'll send you on your way with resources and stuff that can help you get up to speed quick. So again, I invite you to talk more with me, and that is beknownonline.com. beknownonline.com/start is where you'll go. And I cannot wait to talk to you. Again, if you enjoyed this podcast, I'd love it if you can share with some friends. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to your success. Take care.